we are going to stick to it. We are going to power through it. We've got pretty much just enough time to hopefully get most of these done. So we're going to keep going. As you know what this is going to be before I do. We've got our piece for today. What am I talking about? We are on Cancer. Oh my God, Cancer, welcome. I love it. Cancer, this is Aquarius season's gift. This is the age of the Aquarian gift. This is just so beautiful. I'm really excited to be able to connect with the energy. All of the readings thus far have been completely different. I mean, I truly feel like this is such a great experience for me to just get to tap in and to get to decide, you know what I mean? Like how I feel about reading and like giving it a chance long enough to where it's got some fun. Anyways, Cancer energy, spirit. Cancer, let's see what Spirit's got for you. Oh no, that's not what we got. There it is. Wow. Whoa. Cancer, you have a very specific message. So we got this beautiful bright number 2 card that says the body, and it says history. But at the bottom of the deck, you also have 33, which says what has been. So right there, Cancer jumping right out of the gate, we're really talking about the past. So let's see how this is going to play out. This is interesting. So you and your body have been through a lot, and yet it has served you throughout your life. What has malfunctioned has generally healed or is in the process of healing. Do not see your illness or your differentness of abilities as negative issues or worse, your identity. Let yourself shine, for it is the spirit within that is the truth of your being. Wow. Okay, Cancer. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we can even open this up even beyond just like sickness or what was. I think Cancer is realizing that their past and the history of their life is like the paradigm has shifted, and Cancer has really led a lot of the transformation at this time. And was really quick to it. But there is this scarring that what has been will always have just that impact, right? What has been. And I think also the duality of like who I used to be as Cancer, like who I used to be was really different than like what is now. And so having to grapple with what your history says about you, feeling so different than you used to feel about life and how you would navigate, but thinking about how you were making such different choices. And it's all it's fascinating. I mean, that seems like what the experience has been for Cancer right now is like how to find this new identity and like what is true for you, right? Because we've got what has been. You have lived a multitude of lives, each with their lessons and joys. The point is that you have been there, done that. The question is, what did you learn from your experiences? Right, Cancer? And have you learned that that is all they were? Experiences? Oh, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like Cancer was so defined by how they were showing up in the past and almost creating that history in their movements and getting removed enough from a past, being settled enough into a transformation to really look back and say, wow, even as I was going through it and saying that there was a purpose for that and this was the purpose for that and this was the purpose of that, like Cancer is finally being gifted from this Aquarian age the ability to look back and say like those were really just experiences, because especially when what you went through in the past is like so not at all connected to like, I mean, it's connected in that it was you connected those experiences, but other than that, like there's no real connection. Like it wasn't like you intrinsically needed to connect those A and B points. It feels like I'm almost feeling like Cancer was feeling like they were chosen to connect two very different worlds. And that was what Cancer was growing through the age of Pisces, was like an A and B that did not make any sense, or that was almost even false. Like I feel like Cancer felt like they were always forced to live in false pretenses. Like they kept the best, like if only they could see what was inside of my shell, if only they could see like who it really was and who I really was the whole time, without me being so heavily defined by the experiences that I was like either forced to have or I was experiencing and karmically and whatever that may have been. And so for Cancer to really look back and be at peace and to realize that like, wow, like some of these eras, like you may have been a certain way for an era or something may have gone on and like ruled a whole portion of your life, you know what I mean? And to look back and be at peace and say that the whole real point of that wasn't any bigger drama other than just like to give me an experience. And that can be both freeing, but it can also, I can see how that can come with like a wow, because I feel like there was such a clinch on the history and what has been and who you were, and people have not yet opened their eyes. And I feel like there's this big like, oh, Cancer, we didn't realize, we didn't see you, we didn't, you know. And so it's almost like when you catch up with yourself, when you, Cancer, start living in this presence again, you won't be so defined by what has been or what happened, and you won't have given up your most valuable resource, which is what you have in the here and now to be able to create whatever it is that you still want out of life. You know what I mean? And that's what I mean, Cancer. I just did the split here. And we want you to feel like you still have what it takes to create what it is that you want out of your life, Cancer. Queen of Cups, 10 of Cups, right? That part of you that feels intuitively connected to what you're creating and the beauty of life and the change that you worked so hard to see, the ways that you've given up aspects of self that weren't even aligned to you, you know. And maybe you're still in the middle of that transformation, maybe you're nowhere near done, but it's the fact that you wanted to change something, to be more true, to be more free. Let's get some tarot. We love it, Cancer. 9 of Pentacles. And this is what I mean. Cancer's like, excuse me, 7-Eleven, and that's my Cancer best friend Mercy popping in here. You have transformed. I was just about to say 9 of Pentacles. You have transformed. This has happened. That is literally history. And so for people to not see you for your transformation, that one says something. I think that you're also, this is where the setting needs to realign to match that, because you know that that history was literally nothing other than an experience, even if you really didn't do shit to cause that to come, other than just like having, that's like based on who you were around or what you were around. Like, you know that certain history, because the freedom and independence that you transformed into, that is coming in with this, is an independent energy. I see Cancer really igniting, because through the partnerships, through the over-identifying, through the loose associations of your past, and how you were so deeply entrenched in people's stories that you really, like, it was like a fleeting like chance that we were even connected in the first place. Like, going from that place of nothing really feeling that deep, but being so heavy and imprinting you, and everyone you meet, it felt like karmic soup, and you just couldn't not be light with things. If things aren't for you, you couldn't just let them pass you by. Everything had to be made to be about what your story was. And when you stopped picking up so much of that, and you realize that your independence and your regality and who you are, and what's really grounded and what's really rooted in the way that all of those historical experiences transformed you into what you are right now. Like, that's what it was. Like, you're turning the page in your history book, and you're realizing that from this page to that page comes this transformation of a person who would have never been where you are right now had it not been for the history that you had. So it's, yes, they're just experiences, and they're just experiences that could get you to right here. That's really the only thing. It doesn't matter whether they were good or bad, whether someone was right or wrong, whether you kept the people from those experiences in your life or you didn't, or whether they continue to hurt you, or whether you're still dealing with some of them. It doesn't matter. The whole point of you going through all of that was literally just so you could look in the mirror right now, who you are right now. That's it. Because that's what you were wanting to create. You were wanting to break out of our self-imposed prisons, you know what I mean? The Empress. And wanting to cultivate from something real. Something that you could feel emotionally attached to. Feeling connected to the abundance that you cultivate. This is huge, Cancer. This is huge. it's like I'm almost feeling like the way that Cancer's feeling. Like, did you not just see Cancer had a complete transformation? Like, all I'm saying is you're closer to who you really are than you've ever been. And if people don't like that or don't vibrate with it, then that just tells you love and light, like, it is what it is. But you are closer to this internal happiness than you've ever been, which is innately Cancer, the nurturing that you feel. You feel nurtured from your life. And like I said, like, there's just, it's so crazy because the energy of these cards is like Nine of Pentacles, Empress, attracting a lot of attention, Eight of Rods, right, for the work you've done. And this could go either way for Cancer as well. You know what I mean? Because what's being attracted, what's being cultivated, what I think this also speaks of how your history, you're going to see this across the board because it may not all be one way for Cancers. Like your history may also define what you think independence is and what you think cultivating abundance is for you. And then therefore what you subsequently will attract based on what you continue to choose working on. I think Cancer is also realizing that you keep creating the same history because you keep choosing to work on the same stuff. You know what I mean? So now that you know the correlation between your history, what has been your past, and your present moment, and what that meant for your future, now that you can see that, you're going to start making much more embodied decisions, Cancer. You're going to start really being like, okay, this is how I feel about certain things. Exactly, because this is what I felt was looming, this Three of Swords. Right? This is when you realize this is where we see how the truth really feels with you, how your truth really feels. Because you're attracting, you know, you're gaining this independence. You are in this Empress energy, but it's almost like, whose independence do you have? According to who, you know? Like I could also easily see like Cancer being like independent without feeling. And I think that if you're not connected to the way that you feel when you've achieved something, this will be inevitable. And I think Cancer's learned that, you know, through what has been. Because you can have the Nine of Pentacles and you can be the Empress and you can have your phone buzzing, but if the truth still hurts, right? It's just hurtful energy. It's just like almost feeling like the history, what has been, could also set you up for just, because it's an interesting, because now I'm kind of getting a more balance because these cards were coming out or whatever, but this is also about Cancer wanting to break free from the role, you know what I mean? The independent, nurturing, has a lot to give, and maybe the idea is like about getting back what you need. I think that that's what Cancer is realizing, is like what has been a lot of, I'm giving a lot, I'm pouring a lot, I'm nurturing a lot, but maybe the company that it's kept or where I'm funneling that or what I'm investing in isn't giving me back what I need. And maybe also accepting like the history of things, like letting things just be, like letting this kind of be a history. So let's kind of see where we're going, because this is really interesting. 1331. So the Nine of Pentacles. So Nine of Pentacles and Courage. So, yep. So right off the back, we break off from what has been. Right off the back, we disconnect from what was. Because the truth is, heart, love sets you free, not thinking. So you can think about how what you're doing is making all the sense in the world, but the real thing that's going to set you free is love. And you've got to have the courage. The greatest test of courage on earth is to bear defeat without losing heart. So for Cancer, I feel like there is, because for some of you, whether you're, and this is in self, like you have to be able to go at it, to stand in who you are alone. That may mean for some of you who are like deeply in codependent situations where it's like, you gotta really, so for my really ascended Cancers, if you find yourself really detached, like the universe has it where you can't make an identity at your job, you can't make an identity in your community or in your friends. You really just have to keep every day. You're way ahead of the curve. You're super ahead of the curve. And I know it may feel like pain, like, oh my God, I don't connect with anybody. But because if you were one of those Cancers that's deeply entrenched and defined by your connections, you're starting with a very single, you have to stand up for you. And this is what I mean. There's almost this judgment or this understanding the connection between like what has been and the company you keep is what I'm hearing. So on the positive is like, if it has been like all of this, because there's a lot that I'm reading here, you know what I mean? Like, there's these two timelines that I'm reading, because there's one energy that's like, you've been really aware that like love is the only thing that can set you free, so that's the only thing you're following, and you're just having to have the courage, because people were trying to tell you like, you're following love, that's a stupid path to follow, like you should just give up, you should just not try or put no effort in because it's fucking stupid. And Cancer had to really stand 10 toes down alone in that understanding that that's what I'm pursuing, and I'm pursuing it because I see the connection between like, if I don't love what I'm doing, if I don't move from a loving space, these people eventually that I'm looking for, these partnerships, these soulmates, these people that I want to celebrate my life with, they won't have that love. I can't expect them to have something that I don't generate. So I feel like some Cancers really took what had been and realized and were able to deduce like, the only thing to do now is to follow my heart, because thinking didn't lead me anywhere. When y'all thought this about me or thought that about me, it persecuted me, right? And having the courage to bear defeat, having the courage to say like, it's okay if this does not work for us, if this does not make any sense for us to keep doing, that's okay. Because I didn't lose my heart. And I think for some of us Cancers that are really breaking through with this energy and are really showing up and sending back, showing that when you stand in this independent, full energy that is responsible for its own abundance, when people hear word of how you're doing, bro, those truths that they were trying to spew at you, Cancer, let me tell you something. Come right back and puncture the heart is what it does. And then for the other end of it is like, there's also the Cancer energy that doesn't have that strong sturdiness in its own, because you're being asked to stand in your Nine of Pentacles whether you're comfortable with that or not. And if you're not letting love set you free, and you're not standing in your courage, like being placed in that archetype or having that be what you're seen for right now can be very vulnerable. Or can really imprison. It can make you feel like you're in a box. Like it's going to resonate for your Cancer energy how it resonates. But at the end of the day, the Empress came out and we had the religion card. There is no religion higher than truth, right? In Cancer, it's okay to want what you want. You know what I mean? You can't make a playbook about how to do it, how to be you, you know? It's just going to have to be what's true. That's all that it's ever going to be able to be. It's just the truth of who you are and the truth of what it is. So we got relationship. So the Eight of Rods, right? Relationship, Tao, and Angel. So we got, in every union, there is a mystery. Tao. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name, right? And when the angels appear, that's the last one, angel, the devils vanish. And this is kind of what I mean. Like, there is all something about relationships, like something about this awareness of just like the truth of who you are, sending the message, alchemizing, sending the forces, sending your spiritual team to really say that like, there's just this energy of almost like vanishing. Because I almost want to say like the relationship that you can call the love of your life, like I'm almost feeling like this energy of like the best friend or the best thing in the world that you think, like if you can call it the best thing in the world, it's probably not the best thing in the world. You know what I'm saying? Like the Tao that can be named, like if you can name it off the bat, that's probably not the Tao. You know what I mean? It's probably not really what you think it is. And I think that that's what this Eight of Rods really it illuminates. It's that moving direction. Because there's some sort of mystery that the angels are trying to tell you, like, hey, like this may not be what you thought it was going to be. Because when the angels actually appeared in your life, this disappeared. And I feel like this has to do with like deep identities for Cancer. It's like people you held close. Like I feel like this has to do with either like maybe your previous, like your birth family, you know, like people, your blood relatives, or maybe like your close friend group. Like this is what I feel like this message is talking about. The history you create, because it's Three of Cups. It's the history you created with the people that you used to feel like you needed to like and then life vibrates, it does not move, you know what I mean? And that clarifies, life clarifies the Three of Swords. And that's what I feel kind of like it's like when you realize the truth of like what's happening with this sort of replacement of what has been, like I think this is the last thing to change. Like I feel like Cancer has gone through this huge transformation, and the last thing to change is like it's like the changes happened within, so now it's about to change without. And people are about to realize that like life vibrates, it doesn't move. So if we're getting moved from each other, we're not vibrating at the same place. And Cancer has that awareness. And Cancer is letting certain things go because you're no longer moving around trying to be the thing to keep the certain narrative. There is no certain narrative. You're just vibrating where you're vibrating, and you're attracting the things that are also vibrating where you're vibrating. So at any point, if your vibration changes, you're just going to get the changes you get are based on your vibration. So if these partners or this company or these old people or old family that doesn't fit into your narrative, there's this freedom that the Aquarius season is really giving to Cancer that says like the reality is this like if it talks like a duck and looks like a duck, it's probably a duck. You know what I mean? It's kind of like at the end of the day, like if there's no movement, like we're not choosing who we're around in the sense of like, see, like you're choosing of what, but when it comes to vibration, like it's all a vibrational alignment. So if you don't feel like the people that were around you or what has been and the history you were creating, this is where like you are changing the history, and now like there are some inevitable like changes with the like who's going to be surrounded, because when you're coming from this heart space and this courage space and this space of like internal doctrine, and you're really looking to find that true mystery essence, that true relationship dynamic that lights up, and like someone that stays and remains when the angels are around and doesn't just vanish like the devil that they really are. Like when you really find that, Cancer, you really, which I think you're doing now, is like be so open and receptive to the new that's coming in, because there's this revamp and this rejuvenation of, because it's being reset, your new go-to, like your first of kin, your direct contacts may be changing, and they're changing to fit with where you're vibrating at now. And that's such a beautiful relief for some of you who have felt really obligated to like family or friends or whatever. It's like you have this transformation of independence, of being responsible for what you cultivate in your life, and you're going to be happy to send out the magic that needs to be sent to kind of communicate the message of like, this is the truth, and if it hurts you to feel that way, then life is moving us apart because we're not vibrating at the same, but we're not really moving, like we are vibrating away from one another, and no longer needing to be defined by the history that you're making with this association or like this third house, like your direct, what you're nurturing or who you're most responsible for in your day-to-day. So I'm really excited for you, Cancer. We're so grateful that you are here. We hope you have an amazing Aquarius season. And I'm really, really excited for you to recognize that life vibrates, and that you don't have to be scared of like, if you're not vibrating with someone, like let the vibration carry that out to sea. And that's what will happen. So congrats, Cancers. We love you.